And who might you be?
You stuck-up, half-witted, scruffy-looking nerf herder. I love you.
I know.
Hello everyone and welcome to my first video discussing decks. So we're in the middle of Worlds at the moment, and Star Wars LCG is soon to start, and the big talk is of Dark Side's very strong at the moment, and what is everyone going to run to compete against it. So the top decks for the Dark Side that I consider tier 1 that we will probably see will be a Scum Highlander type deck. They're pretty strong at the moment. You then got your Navy Fortress decks. They're very strong, and I'm hearing a lot of buzz about Sith decks. So Dark Lord of the Sith being a very strong set. Something built around that, and I'm hearing on the forums today that people are also thinking maybe Sith creatures could be a good call. So there's a lot of Jedi hate out there. A lot of these decks do a lot of damage and stop the tricks of character decks. So it'll be very difficult one to challenge against. And then with the likes of Scum and Navy being either stopping you from attacking objectives you want, or just outright killing you and wiping you off the board, it's going to be a really tough day for the light side, I think, when they start playing at Worlds. So based on those type of decks and for what I want run this year, if I was going to Worlds, my call would be my capital ship deck. Well, bold enough to say my capital ship deck. So it's a deck type that I've run. I won a regional with, and pretty happy, and I've evolved it from the regional season into national season, and I've just tweaked it once again for the new regional season. But the deck I've got at the moment is probably the one, if I was at Worlds, I would have run. So I'm going to talk about the deck type and show you the transitions that it went through. Right then, so this is the deck I ran during the regional seasons. It has 2 running the trench, 2 commander operations, 2 commander control, 2 capital cover, 2 solidarity and spirit, and 1 planning the attack. So it's a full mono rebel capital ship deck. But so to begin with, the core is it has 3 core capital ship pods. So we've got solidarity and spirit. So that's got your home ones. It's got your frigates, and it's got the 0 cost resource. With capital cover, you've got the smaller frigates, but they are very useful. And then we've got the great event card and concentrate firepower. That's a real key card in this deck, and protection as well. And this helps with shielding. And my favorite card, surprisingly, even though concentrate firepower is a great card, I've noticed recently is Defiance. Defiance really makes these core 3 pods work. If you can get Defiance out early, use it to hold the force, then the dark side is going to find it very hard to slowly eat away at your board. The worst possible thing that can happen to you is if you start losing your units, but if you can at least try and keep them alive for a little bit longer, then your assault towards the end of the game can be really good. So command and control, that's been out for a while, so that's got your the corvettes in, so they're high health. It's all black icons. Resupply depot in there. It's really cool key set. So then to help with that core, I then put in commando operations. Now, commando operations, the objective is good. First off, it's an Endor, so it helps out with Solidarity's Battle of Endor for helping win in Edge, and that's the key with catch tip decks. When you do fight, you do need to win Edge. I remember a lot in the past saying that Rebels didn't have to win Edge because they were black icons, but these days, so much damage that can be dealt now. No, it's even capital ships find it hard to stay alive to be able to strike if they don't win edge. So Commander Operations is in here. It's got some edge tricks. It's got the adaptive strategies to hopefully help when I play protection to double up my shields. And it's got Seed to Decay, which is really good against the dark side first turn when they have to commit people and taking out their key force users. So you do have a little bit of force control if you use that card wisely. Uh, I've added in Running the Trench now. A lot of people know I love I Have You Now. It's a great edge card. Um, the way this deck is built to win edge and Running the Trench. Surprisingly, if you don't consider Luke and Red 5 as key units to get out, then they are great edge cards. R2D2 in it is a shield providing enhancement, which when in the late game when you've got some of the bigger capital ships coming out, he's a good one to put on home 1 to give him shielding. Uh, the event card, I usually, if I draw it early, it's one of those cards you can luckily play in the force phase or the refresh phase, so it doesn't hamper your card draw anyway, and hopefully it actually boosts it so you can actually look at that top card and get rid of it if it's not going to help you this turn. And then lastly, just to round off my 11 set deck, I then had planning the attack. So this the key for this deck and this adding this pod in is it gave you extra reserve until it got turned off. So more cards is always good, helps you win edge. Dodonna is a good unit if you can get him out, but at times with Sif, likes of Dodonna or even Cricks and that, you probably shouldn't play them. Just use their force pips to win you edge battles. You've got the Chuds in there, which they're probably the only cards that are pulling the set down in this type of deck. But then you've got the Elite resource, which is really good, and a Twist of Fate, which help out loads. So overall, during the regional, it was a good medical because I did come up against a lot of Sith, and that's what I managed to win against. And Sith, as we know, are weak against vehicles. A lot of the new events out at that time, like especially Invader set, um, just do not work against capital ships. So they couldn't pull off their tricks. They couldn't pull off their tricks. They were ditching the dead cards, which those tricky cards are low pips. So I had better chance of winning edge, and I pretty much came out on top on the day, mainly against those decks, and mainly managed to avoid scum. So I put that down as one probably the main reason why I won that regional. It was a good medical. It wasn't that this deck did well against everything. I knew it would struggle against scum, but I luckily managed to avoid scum during the day. Right, so next up we have my Nationals deck. Now, the Nationals deck, very similar to the regional deck, but we still kept our core 3 capital ship pods, and I kept my 2 running the trenches because of the edge cards and the I Have You Now. But reason why I changed this up for Nationals is that Scum still continued during the last couple of months leading up to our Nationals to get really good sets. And one of the last sets to come out around about the time was the Lady Valerian set, which had the event card Vicious Counterattack, which is just devastating to any type of attack you try and put together, because Scum have just too many easy ways to focus 2 Scum units and destroy everyone that's attacking in one go, which when you're trying to end games, that can just really turn the game on its head. So yeah, so Secret of Yavin went straight in for the for C3PO basically. I only took it as a one-off because the rest of the set doesn't really help out with the deck type, like I discussed in the last deck. So the Guardians aren't gonna help you in Edge. If you can play them, then yes, they can help with the shielding. But in a world where you've got Sith and their tricks, and then all amount of damage coming out. Protection's not going to really help this deck that they give. And why would I want to be playing a Guardian when I could be playing a capital ship out? So those unfortunately were my dead cards, but it you needed some event cancel during that period of time. Um, so next up, I was finding that with especially against Scum, the race was hard when running cap ships. I found that Scum could almost probably go race faster than me, which was very worrying. So I dropped Commander Operations and I put in two Yodas. Yoda's def in there just to slow the game down. So use the nudges to get the tick the dial down if you as long as you're not up against, like I say, any Sith stuff that can use their events to get rid of them, because then you're just losing out. Yoda, if you can get him on the board in certain games, then yes, it's great. He'll help hold the force, slow the game down, and he can be a good first engagement attacker to lock down someone, take something out. Otherwise, you mainly use him for edge, and he, like, once again, swapping it out for command operations. You've got light for light with seeds, so seeds is still always useful, and you've got resources in this as well, so more resources the better. So I found that yes, this deck did run slightly better than the last one. Fortunately, it was I fell over at nationals due to my dark side deck and forgetting to trigger Tarkin during the fourth phase, and I could have won my game in the cup, but unfortunately that's the way things go. But yeah, so just to summarize on this one again, still got the core three sets, they're still doing what they're doing, running the trench for the edge, and made a force review and secret Yarvin to slow the game down. Right, so this is the deck that I'm on now. So once again, we've still got our core three capital ship pods, still doing what they do. Yoda's still in there as a ×2 to slow the game down, using for edge. I've got cut running the trench down to 1 because it's alright, but I don't know. The reason this deck's changed is to add these two in, and that's mobilize the squadron. So what mobilize adds is obviously you've got the objective is good. It gives you it's basically works like an elite two resource objective. Inside the set, we've got the trench run, which is can be the key to sort of breaking down some of the really difficult dark side decks that are out there at the moment. I'll come on to that in a little bit. You've also in there you've got Rebel Assault, which in this when you're doing a trench run, actually the Rebel Assault's coming useful to use them against units, not against objectives, unless there's a really obstinate objective that you really want to shut down for a little while, probably in force loyalty, but then you're still at the risk of having that damage pinged back. But seeing as there's only two sets in this deck that can be turned off, if you do flip capital cover and you want to play with capital cover, then you've really got to decide how much effort you put in to try and keep that alive. If you're starting hand and the way you want to play the game, is it vital that you have that shields out? Otherwise, sometimes put capital cover to the bottom if it's not going to be any use to you. Same can be said for solidarity. Solidarity is definitely dependent on what you see as the faction and then what they flip up first. It gives you a good idea of what you're going to be playing against. If you can get a good read, if they've gone a split faction, then as I think other people have said in some casts, that's the time you probably feel safer playing a big unit that they can't really react to. I find when I've been playing with this deck that I actually prefer putting in the smaller units, so then the dark side has to put in smaller units. I'm not at risk of them getting a really free good guy. I'm going to force them to play them, so the tempo rush for them first turn isn't as big. The only other good time it could be good to play Solidarity with a large unit is if you're holding a Rebel Assault, and if they happen to drop a unit with 2 health or lower, then it might be good to, when they do drop it, especially if it's a. I remember in the old days when you used to Rebel Assault Mortys and Harkins, but these days a lot more of the characters are 3 health, so it's a bit more difficult. But if they do drop a character or a unit that you could take out, then sometimes it's good to lure that out. But I'm finding these days most of the time I'm actually dropping in one of my Chud capital ships, or a nice one to drop in at 3 cost is the capital ship with the tactics on it. So there's lots of options there of what you could use that for. Um, so mobilize also has covering fire in it. Great event card. Dishes out shields. As you know, the capital ships love to have shields on, especially when you want to play concentrate firepowers. It can sort of sometimes be like a shields out of nowhere is always a good thing. If when you're attacking with shields, the dark side player can see what's going on. But when you can surprise shields out of nowhere from your protections and this fake card, then really makes the battle math a lot more difficult. Also in that set, you've got an X-wing. That's the 1 cost 2 health X-wing with a gun and a bomb. It's really I found now it's actually really quite useful unit, especially that with Defiance out and it's 2 health, it can add a little bit of protection for the rest of your deck. So if you can only like play second turn, you've already had Defiance out, you've got you put a new capital ship in, and you've got 1 resource left. Nice to play next wing. At least then you can start, if things do go south, you can start bouncing damage around between the undamaged vehicles just to keep things alive and on the board. It's also good throwing into the assault on the trench. Rookie pilot. I heard enough about the pilot rules lately, so I disregard the whole argument. He's there to be sacrificed. If you're playing against Sith, don't even bother putting him out. Just try and ditch him or put him into edge. It's just not worth considering. It's only there theoretically for that event and nothing else, in my opinion. So yeah, so certain ways you can play this deck. So you've depending on what you flip up, you've got ways to slow the game down. You want to start building a board. Getting Defiance out early is good force holder. He can gives protect to everyone. So if Darkside does get impatient and wants to start laying some target strike down or start going at your objectives, if you can start building a board and defend, then and keep your units alive, then at least then when it comes to your turn, they've already used some of their units up. You might have a better chance of getting an assault done properly. One other thing to consider is these. While last side's objective is to just blow stuff up, blast isn't the key to everything in this deck. I'm finding now that the guns are very important. That's why it's important to win edge. A lot of people dismay the what I call Chud units for the 3 cost, but your Chud capital ships in here that have 2 guns and 1 bomb. And a lot of people think, what's the use for them? I'm now finding that when I have these in a battle, especially the big one, and I happen to win the edge, these suddenly become board clearing type units, because the dark side will be putting in their efforts to be trying to take out your big names like your home ones and your defiances and your independents. they'll go after them tooth and nail. And hopefully, if you have Defiance out or you do have shields, then they won't be taking out your big names because you spread the damage onto these smaller units because they've got free health, which helps really nice. And then if you've won the edge, suddenly you're firing a lot of guns back. And another thing to be careful of, especially when they put in a big unit like a Vader or an Emperor and they haven't got any protection out, especially same with Scum as well when they put a Zeiss or something out. These units, it can sometimes be worth playing your concentrated firepower on one of these guys just to give them 4 guns, and then that's a 4-gun hit to take out one of their mains, and that swing in the game can set you up for the next turn where you won't be facing off against as many of the big guys, and you'll pepper the trench or pepper the objectives depending on which way you're playing it, and you'll have a much better chance of winning the games. I'm also in that same vein. I'm finding that the Red 5 from Run the Trench, um, his ability is good, especially when they don't see it coming. Darkside probably first thinking he's going to use it just to drop his 2 damage, but if they've put up a unit and they haven't, especially like a main unit, I've played against a lot of Sith and sometimes I've come up against Amara. And the great thing to do against Amara, especially if it's committed and you've got some of the other cap ships out, is you nick her shield and then you get to strike with Red 5 and keep him alive. You use you use his blast as guns and you take her out. And when Dark Side starts losing their mains, that's when they really start to fall apart. Especially with Sith. Sith rely on keeping building boards and keeping their large units in. So you want to build on a Mara, a Vader, an Emperor, and then they explode in control and then dealing damage. But if you can start picking those type of people off, luring them into defenses that they probably really don't want to do, especially with the guys in here, and suddenly you're laying damage on them. Putting damage about is really key about surviving to later. So if you're not going for the trench run, you still have the option of taking out objectives, and the best way to help you win edge, as with all the decks that has gone past, is really reliant on then having this one out, because obviously with command and control out, you're getting extra reserve for the more objectives you take out. So if you can get an objective early, you're already 1 card up, and from there, with some of the cards in here, especially edge has improved a lot. So this set isn't bringing the edge, but most of these cards you probably actually even want to play out, apart from the rookie pilot. But the other sets do have good edge, apart from command and control. But you're putting in other good sets with good cards for edge. So your nudges and your Yodas, your Luke from running the trench, and then your duplicates of your big main capital ships. They give you good edge hands that sometimes dark side doesn't see coming because they're thinking, oh, he's just running ships. They don't have good edge, and no, actually they do now these days. So I had a play test with this the other week. Unfortunately, I didn't have the recording up and running back then, but I do want to get some recordings of this deck in action just to go back onto the trench idea. So as I was discussing at the beginning, the type of decks that we're probably going to see at Worlds, and why I think this could be a good medical Worlds contender, is that when you're going against, let's start with Scum. When you're going against Scum, they have sets that can now mitigate damage. They have sets that can start boosting the damage capacity of their objectives, making them more difficult to destroy. So playing the trench sort of mitigates all that. You're just dealing damage here. They can't prevent it with corrupt officials if they were actually playing corrupt officials, but they can't move stuff around. The objectives that make you like the lady's lesson, and that's the one set I find annoying, is that makes you have to if you attack it, everyone has to attack it. That's always annoying. So you can get around not having to do that. Um, Masterful manipulations. I hate it when you feel like you can take it out and you don't, and you lose that tempo swing. That's always a risky play. If the trench run offers an option not to have to go up against the scum objectives, then hopefully I can take that option. And during the play testing, that did actually work. So the one card which completely screws going at the trench though is Fisher's counterattack, and unfortunately, having dropped C3PO, there is no event cancel. So if Scum are running that, and the likelihood is they're probably running it as a one of, that's the only card you've got to be probably worried about, especially if you do go on one big assault. And that has happened to me. I thought, yeah, I'm going to go for it, and got Fisher's counterattacked, and I lost pretty much my whole board, which completely swung the game. Um, but yeah, so Scum and their dirty tricks, maybe going at the trench is a good idea. Same can possibly be said for Navy. So Navy, they keep throwing damage back at you. So you attack their objectives, you're laying down a lot of damage, but you're not getting anywhere because they're throwing it back, and then they're blowing you up out of the sky, and it's horrible. And especially when they're making you pay to redirect your attacks and everything, it's a really difficult one to get around. Running the trench, playing the trench though, they can't move the damage off of it. They can't redirect you because even though it's treated as an objective, it's not an objective, so you haven't engaged an objective, so it can't Tarkin tax you. They can't move you to entrenched defense. You are going at the trench, and that's all they need to know. And then at that point, Navy is in a bit of a pickle because unless they've then got their big units out with their tactics and they're holding a good edge hand, which depending on what type of Navy deck you're playing, uh, some do have good edge hands and some don't have as much good edge hands. Um, so yeah, trench could be a good option against Navy. Also, now you've got Rebel Assaults in this type of deck. That's who you want to be hitting Miffle with, because Miffle's a pain in the arse if you're trying to get home one off, or anyone with your big blast going. If you can at least lay one damage down against Miffle and then Rebel Assault him, you get him off the board, and then hopefully the rest of your fleet will be able to attack. Sith, I find this deck works probably the best against Sith. There's just so many of the current Sith decks that just do not work as well. I think the only card I fear, well, two cards, is probably Force Lightning and Deadly Sight. Those do hurt particular units in this set. Seeing your independence or that get dropped by a Deadly Sight is horrible, yes, but if they're playing Deadly Sights, then they're not playing units. So yeah, I find that this deck does best against Sith, but it's a challenger, and I think if piloted well, I mean, I've had a lot of practice with it. I wouldn't say I'm a pro, but I've been publicising capital ships enough to think that I'm good enough to play. I've obviously done well during regionals and made it into the top cut for nationals. I think it could be a contender, so that's what I'm going to put out there to everyone who's got this far into watching this. Is those people at Worlds who, if they have a chance to watch a video, would they even consider running this type of deck, or are you already set on your decks? Are you running your Jedi or your smuggler janky stuff? But I think there's probably one player I know who might run a deck like this, and if he does, I wish him all the best, because I really want to see a deck type like this do really well. And I think this could possibly be the year, with all the that dark side hate that's coming for the light side. This I'd put my heart in it. This could be the one that I think could possibly go far. Might not win, but definitely go 5. If you've got a good dark side deck backing this up, then yeah, I think it's a real possible contender. So to finish off, if you have any comments about the decks, if you want to know a bit more how they run, you can always message me in the comments. You can message me on Twitter. You can join the UK Facebook group and find me there and find all the rest of the community there. Um, Hopefully this first video hasn't been too boring, but it's one deck discussion is one I like to talk about, especially how we construct it, build it. I'm rushing this one out because I really want to get it out before World starts. So there's probably a whole load more I could say. I probably could go through this deck card by card and explaining what I would do, how I would play. But hopefully in the later weeks when we record some more videos, hopefully you can see the deck in action, and hopefully we'll keep our ears open to see if anything does come out of Worlds for capital ships, and if not, oh well. But Worlds should be very interesting. So stop myself rambling. I'm gonna end the video there. Thanks for watching, everyone. Good night.